What is going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. I hope you're having a great day. Appreciate you all being here. It is another episode of A Steel Conspiracy. We're going to be talking Steelers training camp, Ravens training camp, talking some running back devalued, also the Terence Crawford, Errol Spence fight, and UFC 291. So let's get it started.
Image, your beats are so fire.
I feel we can beat the Browns. We can compete with Baltimore if they have Lamar. And we're right there with them.
That young man put his life on the line for you, for your entertainment.
We were talking all before the game. You know, everyone was like, "Nah, Ravens don't have a shot," and they're right there. All right, that I need to fix that blacked
Part
out thing.
where I'm talking in the intro.
Yeah, no, that stays. No, where the blacked out of the other host's name, because it looks so like high schoolish. I need to fix that.
It looks petty.
It's very petty. So I need to fix that. We'll be working on that next. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Steel Conspiracy. My name is Suge. We are here going to be talking Steelers, Ravens, Panthers, UFC, boxing, and God knows what else. I'm joined by the one and great Mr. Rodney. Sorry, it's on the mic. How you doing today, B?
Doing all right. How you doing today?
Doing good. It's a little hot in California, so I'm wearing a tank top because if I wear a shirt, I'm gonna sweat like crazy, which I don't think it might. Dude, I'm telling you, there's a ghost in my house or something because you see the light flicker.
That's it. It was happening to me, right? I have those like the smart bulbs, and I go to bed and I don't even have the Echo plugged in, and I just use my phone to turn them off and turn them on. You know, so like if I want to read or whatever, and then I can turn them off without having to get up. And so, like the last week, I'll turn them off. It'll go off. It'll be fine, and then I'll wake up at like 2:30, 3 o'clock, and one of the bulbs is back on at like 10%. And it still says off in the app, and then I'll turn it on, turn it back off, and it just won't shut off. Get out of bed, turn off the light switch, doesn't go off. And people laughed at me.
Yeah, I don't know why it's been flickering. And also, too, this lamp is very old, so I might need to get a new one.
That's probably what that is.
What's up, Jeremy? Unfortunately, Hendo has some things to attend to. I think it has to do with this week's meetup. So, unfortunately, he will not be here tonight, but he will be here in spirit and may show up in chat. So, yeah. I am not streaming on Kick. I am streaming on Twitch still. Kick still has some rules and stuff that I can't really do my regular stream. So, I like still using Twitch. And also, I'm a small streamer, so it's not affecting me like it's affecting other people, as far as monetization and all that stuff. So I'll continue to stream on Twitch. I know, Bronny, you guys stopped streaming on Twitch. You're not even streaming on Kick, are you?
No.
Yeah, until they pay us $16 an hour, I won't be going to Kick. Now, they want to pay me the $16 an hour, for sure I'll be on Kick.
There you go.
What up, Brandon? How you doing? Hope you're having a great night. Appreciate you being here. Before we get started, if you'd like to donate, the link is in the chat. It's a pinned comment. Really appreciate it. If you want to help support the channel, or unfortunately, my car this week had some issues and I had to get it fixed. Costing me a lot of money, so I've been without a car for the last week, which has been pretty dope since I can work from home. But at the same time, it sucks because it's a lot of money that I got to spend. So if you want to help me out with that, really appreciate it. Click the link. Your comment will be read on the screen, and we'll answer whatever you send us. So appreciate everybody being here and hanging out. Let's get going, Mr. Brodney. NFL
Yes.
news. I'll just start off with, because this is mostly, there was some stuff that happened today. I know somebody got hurt, tore their ACL, was out for the season. I know a Steelers player, the running back rookie, tore his shoulder. He's out for the year. Other than that, I really haven't seen anybody. Big news on that. But are you surprised by all the injuries that have been happening in camp, or is that just a normal thing that happens?
No, I mean, it's pretty normal, unfortunately, especially early on in camp, because people are just kind of getting back and just getting into the swing of things, and you're not at 100% yet, and unfortunately, these injuries happen. I think that and a lot of players and a lot of coaches said they need to restructure the offseason so that you don't have this rash of injuries right at the beginning. Thankfully, it hasn't really hit Carolina as of yet. But yeah, I know it's taking its toll on some teams.
Yeah. I know Deontay Johnson last week was carted off, but today he was in practice because he was. You'll see in one of the videos I clipped. He was up doing chest bumps with George Pickens, so he must be okay. He must have not been that hurt. I know there's a rumor out there that Chase Young, Ravens are eyeing Chase Young. I had also heard that Steelers were eyeing him, possibly trying to get him to help with that front line. Where do you think his predictions of probably where he's going to go? Do you see him going to Baltimore? Do you see him going to Pittsburgh? Or where do you end up?
I'm being honest. My prediction is probably that he just stays put in Washington. Baltimore is a team that's rumored to be interested in a lot of players, and they don't really follow through with it very often. I think Odell might have been the first time that's happened. But I think he would be a great fit for Baltimore as long as they're just giving up, second or third day draft picks to try and solidify that edge rusher position. I don't think that. I mean, obviously he would help Pittsburgh, right? I mean, he's a very talented guy, but I don't think that it's as big a need for Pittsburgh. Y'all might want to look into this position. It's called cornerback. You might want to see if you can grab a few of them to maybe balance out that defense a little bit. But I mean, whatever. If you know that TJ Watt's going down again, that TJ Watt's going down again. You got to do something about it, right?
No, he's not going down again. I will say, after some of the clips I played today, either George Pickens is a future Hall of Famer, or our corners are not as good. Real quick, shout out to Buck. He says Pickens and Porter going after it. Damn, yes, and that will be one of the clips I'll show. But like I said, it's either George Pickens is a future Hall of Famer, as Goku's still on my face, or our corners are just, maybe it's just early in training camp that maybe
no, your corners are bad. You can just say
by the clip, Porter played very well, even though it looked like defensive and offensive pass interference.
Listen, I think Joey Porter's going to be just fine, but I mean, he's a rookie, and you don't really expect him to play at a consistently high level this year. That just because he's got the transition to the NFL, it's going to be difficult for him, especially in that division where there's a ton of really talented wide receivers. He's going to have a rough time, I think, this year. But I think he'll be fine in the long term. On the other side, you got Patrick Peterson. So, like I said, you might want to look into the corner position a little bit.
Well, I was reading camp notes, and people were saying that he looked good. The problem is when I show this clip, you're going to be like, who is he playing against? The third wide receiver, the fourth? Right. Well, let's start there then. Steelers camp. Let's play the clips.
got burnt, got the ball thrown at him, and then got the lecture.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm all about competition and all that stuff, but man, you got to put the ball back in his face like that. Like, you need a
George
great play.
Pickens is going to get into a lot of training camp fights throughout his career.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
he looks like he's going to be a great receiver for y'all.
yeah. And I mean, now, granted, a lot of the comments on that video was, "Oh, pass interference," offensive, defensive. Okay, fine, cool. But you want to see competition. You want to see people going at it. You want to see that they actually care about. Even at this time, at least they're engaged. And George Pickens seems to be really engaged when it comes to football. There was an article that came out talking to him because I asked him about when he blocks, why he's so like he plays mad, and he said, "Well, because I'm not getting the ball," which is, God, that's such a narcissistic kind of answer. Like, I'm not getting the ball, so I'm not happy.
Yeah.
But then he takes it out on the defense, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, but that's how you want. That's the attitude you want people to have. You don't want them to be fine with not getting the ball, especially in that position. But yeah, like I said, he's gonna be in a lot of fights in his career, I'm sure.
Yeah, and he definitely looking like he's taking over the number one position. Like I said, Deontay Johnson had kind of got hurt, but he was back out there. But it seems like George Pickens is taking that by the reins and saying, "No, I'm Pittsburgh's wide receiver. I'm the guy you're going to go to. It's about me." I do find it interesting, like Buck said, that they do have Porter guarding him and matching up against him in practice. Now, what's the old saying that Hendo would say? Iron pierces iron,
Sharpens iron.
Iron,
Sharpens
softens iron. I don't know what's that saying again. Is it sharpen? Are you sure it's sharpen? Okay.
It's sharpen.
But like in that clip, I did feel like you could tell like Joey Porter just like kind of threw his hands down, was a little annoyed, and then put the ball in his face. He threw the ball back, and then he got lectured for it. Yeah. And I don't know if the coaches tell him like, "Oh, it's okay, relax," or kind of giving him advice. But I think it's gonna help. But then I kind of think it's like he's so young, you don't want to like demoralize him so quickly. How do you feel about that, Barney?
Look, I mean, like I said, he's in a division where he's going to have to play a lot of tough wide receivers every week almost, right? Like, you look at Cleveland, you got Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore. They just drafted Cedric Tillman. You look at Cincinnati, obviously you got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. You look at Baltimore now, even with Odell and Rashad Bateman and Zay Flowers. Like, there's not going to be any weeks off. So he needs to get used to it, and he needs to get up to speed. But I think he's gonna struggle as a rookie because he's making that transition. It's tough to move from college to the NFL, period. But then when you're moving to the NFL and you're facing just top guy after top guy in your division, it's gonna make it harder. But in the long run, he'll probably be better for it.
For sure, like you said, he's gonna have to get used to it because he does have to face a lot of good wide receivers in the division. And if he wants to be a top cornerback, he's going to have to show that he can match up with those guys and, show that he can play. Jeremy, I will get to your comment in a minute because we are going to talk about that. Buck says P2 ain't shit. Okay. He hasn't been the same since the PED bust. Okay.
He's been good since then, though. So
yeah, I mean, if he was like horrible, yeah, I would agree with you. Now, some other news coming out of Steelers camp. Calvin Austin has been looking really good. Allen Robinson has been looking really good. They're saying, especially out of the slot. We don't know what he's going to be during the season, but if we could get some production out of him, that would be great. I know, Jeremy is talking about the running backs. Najee Harris has kind of felt a little underappreciated. And I would tend to agree with him, but his numbers haven't been the greatest, but that could be a issue with, the offensive line, the offensive coordinator, things like that. So this is kind of his year to see what he can do. Hopefully, I think you've said it. I've said it. I think he's going to have a breakout season this year. But I don't want them to use him all up. and just run them into the ground. So hopefully they don't. Kenny Pickett's looked pretty decent. Nothing too crazy, nothing too bad. I know Mason Rudolph hasn't looked great. Surprise, surprise. Uh, and I just think the Steelers overall camp wise, there's just been a lot of positive coming out of camp. Nothing too negative. Like I said, the rookie running back, I don't remember his name. He ripped his shoulder apart, so he's out for the season. Which is kind of such a young career. Rookie gets drafted, and right in the beginning of training camp, gets hurt. But this is the first week of pads, which is interesting. See how that will work. I want to see what happens next week in our first preseason game. I kind of want to see how Kenny does. I know I was on Twitter and people were taking like this one clip where he just made the throw should have been made to the outside, and he made a throw on the inside to the tight end, and it wasn't picked, but it was knocked down. And people were, just look how bad he is. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing. It's like, okay. I've watched like 20 videos of quarterbacks. Like, that's Dak Prescott just throwing interceptions like today, or Lamar throwing the ducks, or who was the Trey Lance throwing over the coach's head.
Wow. Wow. Wait, with all the black quarterbacks there, did we?
I kind of, I just realized I did. I typed in bad quarterback play, and guess what came up?
Like, let me scroll past Kenny Pickett.
I made sure to pass that one on purpose. No, I'm not going to talk bad about Aaron Rodgers. But no. So I think people are. I want to see him in his first preseason game. He's gotten all the first team reps, so I want to see how he does and how he progresses into like the third preseason game, and go from there. I think he's going to be fine, but people have their reservations about him and believe that he's not a NFL quarterback. I saw a tweet today from a gentleman talking about how Ryan Clark won't say the truth because he knows Kenny Pickett's bad, and it's like he's only played half a season. Like, yeah, the numbers aren't great, cool, but let him play a season. Like, if he's thrown 7 touchdowns and like 12 interceptions by week 5, sure, yeah, okay, but like let's let him play a couple games before we start already throwing him under the bus. I know you're not the biggest Kenny fan, but how do you feel, or what do you think he might be able to do?
I like Kenny fine. It's just like you said, he played half a season, and also like you said, the numbers weren't great, but he had his moments. He made some big time throws in a few games last season, and he showed flashes, right? And that's really, if you're not talking about a guy like Pat Mahomes who comes in and is immediately the best quarterback in the league, right? That's what you look for in a young quarterback. You're not going to see consistency. They're not going to make the right decision every time. They're not going to place the ball perfectly every time, but you want to see flashes of what they can do. And I think he showed that. And this offseason, they improved their offensive line. They've got a great group of receivers around him. So I think that he should come out and be playing pretty well right from the beginning. But it's gonna have to be something that you keep an eye on. But I think he showed enough last year to say that he'll be a pretty solid starting quarterback for him.
And that's Bronny just being nice right now, you guys. He's told me in the background what he really feels about Kenny Pickett. But that's okay. That's okay. He what he tells me is,
you're poor, you're broke, and no one gives a shit about you, and you need to realize that.
I don't say that about
Kenny. That's how he feels about Kenny.
Kenny is not broke. He's not that.
No, he's not. No, he recently got married. All right. Let's go to the Ravens and let's point out. Let's do some good that they did. They've been talking about that offense. Let's show some clips. Now that was Aguilar.
and was assisting people down. My man just started throwing babies out the window. We was catching them, unlike Aguilar and his mishaps. I like to put that out there.
It's the third time he went.
I think a lot of Ravens fans are going to be. I feel like a lot of Ravens fans are going to be saying that this year with Aguilar. All right, actually,
I think Aguilar gets a bit of a bad rap because of that guy. He's a solid wide receiver, and he's going to be like their wide receiver 4 probably. So I mean, he's in a good spot, and I think he's gonna surprise some people this season for Baltimore.
All right, and here we got another clip. Now that's a great play. That's a great play. That's a horrible throw. That's horrible.
I mean, let's relax. He was jogging and just kind of tossed it to him. It's not, they weren't playing football there, Suge. Like,
horrible throw. And Ronnie, there was a pro Shea site.
Them kids did not want any part of James Prochet being around. It's embarrassing. Yeah. But at least he's embracing the fact that he's not actually going to be on the other side.
Right? He's on the other side of the
road. So that's nice, right?
Jeremy thinks Zay Flowers is going to have a breakout year. Now, yeah, let's talk about that because now, my bias aside, I've been seeing a lot of Ravens fans like out of nowhere, like, oh my God, we're about to have the greatest year ever. Zay Flowers is killing it. You know, OBJ is killing it. Good thing season's not played in preseason or not even in training camp. I do think that we got to see what happens during the season. But that's my bias. So far, we've had heard good things coming out of camp for them as far as offensively, them too, especially. But with not having J.K. Dobbins there, Melvin Gordon coming out talking about J.K. Dobbins possibly sitting out, not due to injury, but because he wants money. Do you think stuff like that's going to affect the Ravens, or you think they can move past that and kind of have this offensive juggernaut that a lot of Ravens fans think they're going to have?
Listen, I like J.K. Dobbins. He's a very, very talented running back. Very talented. I thought he was the best running back in that class coming out. And honestly, he had a great career at Ohio State. And he showed in his rookie year, I mean, he showed a lot of ability, right? And then he tore his ACL, but he came back this past season, not even 100% and looked like an even better player, right? And so we're all sitting here like, man, you know, once he gets healthy over the offseason, he's gonna break out, right? They won't miss J.K. Dobbins at all, honestly. Like Gus Edwards is an okay running back. He's he's kind of a just a guy type of running back, but he's more than capable. And the big thing for Baltimore is their running success hinges on Lamar Jackson being on the field. If Lamar Jackson's on the field, the running back that is on the field is going to be successful, just because the defense has to commit to defending Lamar running the ball. So you can't fully commit to stopping the running back. I mean, they had Kenyon Drake and Devonta Freeman in there, you know, when obviously JK and Gus both tore their ACLs. And those guys were averaging about 4.3 yards a carry. And those are guys who can't make another roster, you know, and that's because, you know, they were on the field with Lamar Jackson. It was the same thing you saw in Washington with Robert Griffin in his rookie year. Alfred Morris, 6th-round pick, ran for 1,600 yards because he's standing next to Robert Griffin. So I think that, you know, it's unfortunate for JK. I know that he wants to get paid. The injuries have really kind of taken the steam out of the start of his career, and also Baltimore just not giving him the ball as much as he would like and as much as they really should have. But he doesn't have any real leverage in this situation, right? Especially, you know, I'm talking about Gus Edwards. Dalvin Cook is still available. right? Ezekiel Elliott is still available. Kareem Hunt is still available. Like they can go and replace J.K. Dobbins, even if they're not happy with just what they have in the room already. They can go and replace him pretty easily. So Baltimore, whether or not they have that juggernaut of an offense is really just going to come down to, the wide receivers being healthy, the O-line being able to protect Lamar. And if those two things happen, they're going to be ridiculously tough to stop.
Now, we're going to talk about the Panthers, but I want to go into this, the running back devalue. Now, like Jeremy had talked about, Jonathan Taylor has, I believe, asked for a trade, if I'm not mistaken, and we know Najee Harris has can't come out. There's a lot of people come out. Your boy Saquon Barkley was like, "No, I'll go ahead and cross the picket line and get my money." That's your boy, Ferris. That's shout out to Ferris. But are running backs devalued? I know I heard an argument from Ryan Clark saying when you pay a running back, it doesn't transpire into a Super Bowl. But today you've heard a lot of stats where the third most position that touches the ball is the running back position, from the center to the quarterback to running backs. Running backs are responsible for a lot of the yardage, a lot of the offense in some cases. And so, you and me have had this conversation because of what happened with Le'Veon Bell with the Steelers. Are teams ruining that position for up and coming players, or is this just one of those years that the position is just not going to get paid, but down the line they will get paid, or things will change? What is your thought on it?
It's definitely devalued, and I think it's because of the way the game has not evolved, but the way it's been changed by the owners, the way they the rule changes and things like that. They've made it so much easier to pass, and running the ball is just not as efficient. If you want to move the ball down the field, it's better to be passing it than it is to be running it, no matter who your running back is. You could have the best running back in the league, and it's a better bet to pass the ball than it is to turn around and hand it to your running back. It's sort of like basketball with a 3-point shot. I looked at it because Jose and I had gone back and forth about it about a couple of years ago, and talking about whether or not the mid-range jumper was a valuable thing, or if it, like running backs, if it's been devalued, if teams need to utilize it more. And the reality was, for that, I forget which season exactly it was, but the best mid-range shooting team in the NBA was still less efficient than the worst 3-point shooting team in the league, because you just can't shoot well enough from that area of the court to make up for the extra point that you're getting on 3-point shots, right? So it's just kind of the same thing with running backs, where if you look at the best running back in the league in terms of their yards per carry, it's still going to be less than some of the worst wide receivers in the league, what they're getting per catch. And so you're just not moving the ball as effectively if you're running it. And like I said, I think that's because of, it's not a natural thing that happened, but it's because the owners decided to make it much easier to pass the ball because they wanted to see more points on the board. I think the only way that you really get back to the league valuing running backs like that is if they kind of let defenses play more physical like they used to. Where the corners were allowed to hold a bit more. They weren't so quick to throw pass interference penalties and things like that. I don't think that'll happen. But, there's also the chance that because defenses are getting smaller, lighter, faster to deal with more wide receivers. So you can come back, and kind of counter that with a power run game. But, right now we've seen multiple teams try that. Tennessee, you see Baltimore, San Francisco to an extent. They've kind of gone the heavy run route, and it hasn't translated to championships. San Francisco obviously made it to the Super Bowl. They just weren't able to get the win because Jimmy Garoppolo. Tennessee, nah, and Baltimore had Greg Roman, so that kind of derailed them, right? But Baltimore, they're the only ones that have that kind of franchise quarterback that could, make that work. Because if you're looking at Tennessee, you got Ryan Tannehill. So if Derrick Henry isn't dominating, Ryan Tannehill's not winning that game for you. San Francisco had Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo's not winning that game for you if the run game isn't working. So I think it can work in Baltimore. But the reality is it's just a passing league, and teams are going to lean more in that direction. And the running back position, if you give it to your running back, you're taking it out of the hands of your quarterback, and no team really wants that.
For sure. And yeah, you're right. Like, you're handing the ball off to your running back and he's getting you 5 yards. But if you're throwing it to your worst receiver and he's getting you 6 or 7, that's obviously a +2 in yards, and you're getting closer to a first down rather than being a couple yards short. So yeah, it makes absolute sense. Delvin Cook is rumored to be going to the Jets. I don't know if his deal would be that big. Okay. Running backs that Carolina are willing to pay are not devalued. It's a quarterback-driven league. There's a whole NFL series on it. Sony Michael just retired recently. They know their value and risk of the position.
Well, Sony's had a lot of injuries.
Yeah, the Titans want to ball out out of Tannehill's hands.
Yeah, but teams with good quarterbacks don't, Jay.
I know the Steelers, going back to the Steelers, their fullback they drafted, I think, retired. I don't know. He just was like, "Oh yeah, I'm out."
Good. They shouldn't have drafted a fullback.
I don't know if we drafted him or it was a free agent rookie or what it was.
Either way.
Right?
Either way.
I mean, Baltimore paid Patrick Ricard, so why?
Patrick Ricard, I mean, aside from being a racist, he's a fullback, a tight end, and a defensive lineman. So at least he can do some other things.
But can he though?
But Pat Ricard should be cut as well.
All right, let's go to Panthers camp. How have the Panthers been looking at camp?
Panthers look like they're about to win the division championship, and CJ Stroud is playing in Houston, so I don't know.
I'm sorry. Bryce Young. I don't know why I said CJ Stroud.
Bryce Young has been looking good. I mean, obviously he's had his share of mistakes. He's thrown some interceptions and whatnot, but he looks like he's the real deal. They're in a similar position to kind of Baltimore, where you just kind of want to see a couple of areas of the team really step up. You want to make sure the O-line is what you kind of expect it to be, because they've put a lot of resources into the O-line. They need to find another edge rusher to put opposite of Brian Burns, because you know what you're getting from Brian Burns. No idea what you're going to get on the other side. Now, they did just sign Deion Jones, who used to be the middle linebacker for the Falcons. He spent last year in Cleveland. And it may be that they are going to let Frankie Louvu play more of just the pass rushing role. But the opposite edge rusher has just been a nightmare for them, trying to get that spot figured out. And then you have the secondary, where they drafted a guy in the top 10, and then they have another guy who they drafted previously in the second round, and then they had another top 10 pick who they traded a third round pick for to get out of Jacksonville, and they are bad. J.C. Horn is a good player, but he's had some injury issues. Dante Jackson has been very up and down throughout his career, and he's coming off a torn Achilles, and C.J. Henderson just kind of sucks. So they, much like Pittsburgh, they have to get that back end figured out. But like I said, it's an offensive league. It's an offensive driven league. So if Bryce Young is who we all think he is, they're winning that division.
It's a bad division, so.
Okay, you know what? I don't think that we can classify it as bad. They're all professionals. What we're saying here is that Carolina is back, and Bryce Young is the real deal, and they're going to win that division.
If that makes you feel good,
it does make me feel good to be division champion. You're going to be like fourth in your division. I know that makes you feel bad.
Yeah, we're going to be second when in the playoffs.
Oh, you're not even predicting a win. That's incredible.
We'll see. The Steelers did sign. I forgot to bring this up. The Steelers did sign Kawan Alexander to a one-year deal. He was previously with
not Kawan.
Is it Kawan?
Just Kwan.
Oh, Kwan. Sorry. Hold on. So no A. Okay. Quan Alexander signed him for a one-year deal. The Steelers have really cleaned out that middle linebacker position and got all new people. Got rid of Bush. Got rid of Miles Jack. and now bringing all these new guys. So hopefully it'll help. I'm not really sure. We know the offensive line is pretty good. I know coach. If you watch coaches ranking of the Steelers, he did bring up the middle linebacker spot and how there's not much there. So we'll see what happens. But I feel this could be a good signing. We'll see what happens. Hopefully it pans out.
I'm gonna say this. I don't want to like rain on your parade or anything, but Quan Alexander kind of sucks. He got a big contract in San Francisco because he's extremely athletic, or he was, and he ran around and got a lot of tackles, right? But not necessarily tackles where you stopped the other team. He was making some tackles downfield. And then he got a big contract in San Francisco, and they were like, "The hell is this?" And they cut him. And now, obviously he's washing up on the shores of Pittsburgh like Miles Jack did, and it's not going to be great.
Well,
maybe you
like I said, the NFC South sucks.
No, it doesn't. That's a professional division right there.
I am excited to talk about these because I didn't get to see a lot of your. I was watching your stream and then I passed out because I've been drinking. So I'm excited to talk about this because I did miss a lot of what you talked about. But Errol Spence, Terence Crawford, let's that was a surprising knockdown because he didn't really hit him hard, and he got him. Now I'm not gonna lie, when I saw that angle, I really thought that was Jay. I thought Jay had grown a fro, but that one too. That punch didn't really seem like he looked beat up. Like he looked like he's been beat up, but that punch didn't really seem like it really hurt him. This punch though, I thought he murdered him. I thought he was dead. I'm very surprised Spence got up. And then the end of the now, Rodney, the thing I wanted to talk to you about is overreaction. Because this fight was built as two great fighters, two undefeated fighters, champions going at it, and it didn't even look close. And I was telling you before, I think I was telling you before, they were talking about how the effects of the car crash affected Errol Spence, even though he had fought a year after the car crash. They say the car crash still was an effect. There's supposedly rumors out there that him and his girlfriend got in a fight before the fight, which Maya caused it. And people, Stephen A was on First Take saying he should retire. People are saying he should retire. He shouldn't fight anymore. Why are we so quick to overreact like this? Like, I'm not sure. Like, he just lost to a better fighter. It's his first loss. Let him regroup and come back. If something that's similar happens in the next fight, then maybe yes. Maybe he doesn't have it anymore. But to say right out the gate, oh, retire, you don't have it. He fought a really good fighter. I mean, and I think you said it on your stream. Like, Crawford's never looked this great countering punches like that day. I don't think anybody was going to be. Yeah. Because he was amazing countering every punch. And Spence just lost to a better fighter. What are your thoughts?
Well, we had talked about this even earlier in the week because Naoya Inoue fought Stephen Fulton, right? Another big-time fight, one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world in Inoue, going up against a really, really good fighter in Stephen Fulton, who had 2 belts at 122, and Inoue moving up, and that was his first fight at 122. It was going to be, everybody thought it was going to be a great fight, right? And Inoue washed him. He won 7 straight rounds and then knocked him out in the 8th. And we talked about it. Like, yeah, Stephen Fulton ran into a better fighter. And, the true greats, they take their game to another level when they have their biggest challenges, right? The biggest spotlight, they give their best performances. And that's what you saw with Bud Crawford. He landed 50% of his punches overall, which is ridiculous. And 60% of his power punches, which is completely unheard of. And as far as Spence, I don't know if he had any health issues. I don't know, what's going on in his personal life. I know that he had said many times before that fight that he had a lot of trouble making the 147 weight. and he was planning on moving up to 154. And he does look small, right? He does look kind of weaker than we've seen him before in his previous fights. And I know one thing that happens if you have a particularly tough weight cut is it messes with your punch tolerance. And that's what it looked like to me. And because Bud Crawford was throwing a power jab essentially, and he was hurting Spence with the jab. And that's not something that you would expect to see with a fighter of Spence's caliber. And a guy, like you said, a guy who's been in there who's never lost. We've seen him in with a lot of really good fighters, and he never looked like that. So I'm inclined to believe that it's just, it was a combination of Bud Crawford fighting the best fight of his life, and Errol Spence maybe, did not. Maybe it was too difficult for him to make that weight, and he wasn't fully ready for that fight. He does have a rematch clause. And so, like you said, if he feels like it's something that's correctable, he can get back in there with him, and we'll see. And even if it happens, even if it goes the same way, he still don't need to retire. He's never lost to anybody not named Terence Crawford. Right?
Yeah.
So there's no reason to, like you said, overreact. It was a shocking outcome. Nobody expected that. Everybody thought it was going to be a competitive fight, but it wasn't, and that happens. That doesn't mean he has to quit boxing now.
Yeah, it's very strange. Like this, all of a sudden, like people were just looking at Twitter and TikTok and watching shows, and people were just like, "Yeah, he needs to retire." Like that's one loss. Like Ali lost when he was undefeated to Frazier. He lost in another fight where he broke his jaw to Ken Norton. Like you lose. Sometimes you lose bad. It just happens.
Yeah.
But you come back and you figure it out.
There are very few fighters who finish undefeated, right?
Rocky
Marciano did. Floyd Mayweather did. That's it, right? Like when you get to that level, if you keep on fighting, you're going to lose. Even if it's not to somebody that's better than you, you're going to have a bad night. They're going to have a great night, and you're going to lose. It's an overreaction to say that he needs to quit boxing and everything. And I'm almost certain, even if we just take it at face value and we say Bud Crawford is just a better fighter than Errol Spence, right? Even if there was no other issue, he's just a better fighter. It wouldn't go like that the second time. It was like the gap between those two guys isn't that wide.
I really believe it's because Eminem brought out Crawford. To that song, he wasn't losing that fight. Eminem was walking in front of him. He wasn't losing that fight. He's about to break the break. He could have beat the brakes off of Canelo that night, probably. Like he wasn't losing that fight. It was a great fight. It was a great card. I watched that card. It was the first time I watched a full card. I was very disappointed because I bet some money and I had the first two fights won. And then it went into Isaac Cruz versus the younger guy, Cabrera.
Giovanni, Cabrera.
Yeah, and I chose Cabrera because I was like, Isan looks like a midget. I was like, there's no way. And he Cabrera looked like he didn't know what he was doing. He looked like a guy that just learned how to fight 2 weeks ago. And now what I did find interesting was Isaac Cruz, Ryan Garcia called him out. So that might be a possibility fight. Yeah. So that'd be interesting. And then obviously like you said, Spence has a rematch clause, but Thurman was calling him out. There was a bunch of all that.
he was also talking about fighting Clarissa Shields. He just talks. You don't have to listen to anything Keith Thurman says.
Well, this goes into my next topic. Eminem said the amount you paid me, I'm doing that. Facts. Jeremy Miller brings up Crawford and Tyson Fury are the best boxers on the planet right now.
Nah.
Well, that's one thing I wanted to bring up, Ronnie. I wanted to bring up this. Where is that? There it is. Pound for pound from Michael Benson. That's not what I do. Where's it go? There we go. Sorry.
Oh no, that's just the welterweight rankings.
Oh, well, I got the wrong one. Okay,
yeah,
well,
I saw his other tweet that had the
yeah, I must have got the wrong one. Hold on, let me look it up.
But while you're looking at that, that speaks to the kind of the point you're making, right? Like those are the updated Ring Magazine welterweight rankings, and Errol Spence, who just took, I mean, a
Beating.
beating for the ages, is ranked number 2 at welterweight,
Okay.
right?
Now I got it. I'm gonna have to.
Because everybody else who matters at that weight division, he's already beaten.
Thanks. Okay. All right. So right here, you got his pound for pound, and I know you guys are gonna be doing a pound for pound on ranking, so you don't have to give too much away. But Terence Crawford, Inoue, Uskis, Canelo Alvarez, Benavidez, Errol Spence, Haney, Davis, Lopez, Lomachenko. I do know a fight got announced for Haney today, right? Correct?
I did not see if it got announced, but he's been talking about moving up to 140 and fighting Regis Prograis for a belt there. But I did not see if that actually got announced today.
Okay, I did. I may have saw something, but I'll let you because you know how to look that stuff up. Are you okay with those rankings, or do you feel?
Look, top 3. I think that's it for sure. Obviously we saw what Crawford just did to Errol Spence, who had previously been in everyone's top 2 or 3. Now, in a way, moving up and grabbing those belts at 122, especially in the fashion that he did it against Stephen Fulton, really cements him as number 2. Usyk had been, he had dominated the cruiserweight division, moved up, and is now, I mean, I won't say dominating heavyweight, but he's won every heavyweight fight that he's taken. He's beaten Anthony Joshua twice. So I think those 3 for sure are right where they need to be. Canelo ahead of Bivol is a little silly considering what Bivol did to him. But, I think that's a lot of credit to Canelo for what he's done, in the past, I think is why he's still got that ranking there. Errol Spence is kind of the interesting one. How far do you drop him based off of that one loss? Haney and Gervonta, I think they both belong on the list. Haney, if he actually drops those belts at 135, because a lot of him being on the list is the strength of him being the undisputed champion there. And if he's moving up to 140, it kind of looks like he's running away from Gervonta. So I mean, it's not a good look. But he is one of the top guys out there along with Gervonta. I don't think Tiafimo belongs on this list yet. He had a couple of very, very bad performances. I mean, he obviously lost to Kambosos. He didn't look great in his first couple fights at 140, but he did bring it back in his last fight. So I think he's on that road back. I just don't think he should be on there just yet. Lomachenko being on this list is a joke. It's an absolute joke. He's got, I believe, 20 fights now, and he's got 3 losses. I mean, it's not he doesn't belong anywhere near that list. The easy replacement right there is Jermell Charlo, one of the twins. He's the undisputed champion at 154, who's moving up 2 weight classes to fight Canelo in September. So putting Lomachenko on that list ahead of Jermell Charlo is a complete joke.
Yes, DBZ. I mean, saying wrong is like death in taxes for sure. Inoue is up there too. Yeah, I think Inoue is definitely probably the second. I mean, I thought he would have been number 1, but after what Crawford did to Spence, you're like, no, he's got to be number 1 because he beat the brakes off him. I'm telling you that this hit right here scared me. That one was bad.
That one was bad because and that was at the end of him really getting beat up for a while. So that was tough to watch, especially I'm a big Errol Spence fan, so that wasn't great.
Yeah, and when he hit him in the side of the head like that, I was very uncomfortable. All right, I don't know. Were you able to catch 191? Or sorry, 191, 291?
I saw the last 2 rounds of Pereira and Blachowicz, and then I just saw the highlight of Gaethje and Poirier. I didn't get to see much else.
Well, let me show you the best knockout of the night.
Perfect. You landed it right on the chin.
And then the best celebration of the night.
I can't stand that dude.
That was one of the best celebrations of the night. Derek Lewis knocking out. I don't even remember the guy's name. He just flying kneed him in the first couple seconds. And I sent out you the message. Kristen had a bet and we picked every correct fight.
Nice.
The Alex Pereira was the only one we sweated because I was like, "Oh, this is close." But every other one was knocked out. Like Michael Cheklis, Kevin Holland choked him out. The other fight, Derek Lewis kicked the knee. Alex Pereira was the only one that was actually.
Well, and that's because Blachowicz, just grabbed him and laid on him when he started feeling like he was in trouble.
Yeah, Derek was just stays funny. So, yeah, it's funny, but your favorite belt, the BMF, it was very surprising because I had picked Poirier. I thought Gaethje's a good fighter, but I figured Poirier was going to be able to just be more aggressive and things like that, and that did not go the way it was.
Left-hand connection for Justin.
Dustin has really benefited from not only his fight style, but those 2 wins over Conor McGregor.
Gaethje fans being heard from now. About a minute gone by round 2. Oh! It's the BMF belt!
Oh my God!
Now that kick Gaethje threw, he threw it like twice prior, and both times Poirier was able to block it. But Poirier said he wasn't used to him throwing that. And then that one, he threw a right, I believe it was a right with it, and then threw the kick. And Poirier kind of blocked it, but the foot just right around the neck and just cracked him. And that's all she wrote. Now, I believe Gaethje gets a shot at, is it Oliveira or
not Oliveira, Makhachev.
Makhachev in October, I believe, is what they're saying. So, I know you don't like the BMF, but I mean, you got to be surprised.
A joke.
Yeah, I mean, this was a good fight, but it didn't. It's not legitimate belt. But how do you feel about this win for Gaethje?
I think it's a great win for him, and I like Gaethje, and he's a very, very entertaining fighter. Poirier, obviously has been a good fighter as well. So it's a big win for him. I don't see any way that he could beat Makhachev.
So it's just he's gonna go in there and get beat up or lose. And
I don't even know about beat up. I think he's gonna grab him and squeeze him and just hold him like him and Khabib do. And it won't be the most exciting fight, but I think it'll be a dominant win for Makhachev. Not really something I want to see at this point, but you got to give him a shot, right?
Yeah, it hasn't been really too. Jose was talking about this on your show the other day. UFC really hasn't produced really good shows lately. Like you haven't been like excited. Like I had forgot. I was talking with you. I didn't even know there was a UFC fight. I was so focused on the boxing fight, I didn't realize there was a UFC fight. Yeah. Now the UFC fight ended up turning out to be a really good card, but there hasn't been fights where you're like, yeah, I'm excited for. Like there hasn't been that Brock Lesnar versus Alistair Overeem card, or now we know we're gonna get Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler. Are you really excited about that though?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not even a little bit.
I know Conor was calling out Gaethje and calling out. It's like, well,
because the thing is, like, Michael Chandler is not particularly good. He's kind of he reminds me of Chris Lieben where he's just a kind of a meathead that you can't knock out because he'll just stand there and take the punches because he's an idiot. And Connor, no idea what Connor has left, no idea at all. In his last fight against Poirier, I thought he was winning the round, and then obviously he broke his leg or his ankle. And I, up to that point, I had just been questioning whether his heart was really still in it. After making all that money fighting Floyd, and then obviously he sold his whiskey company as well and made a ton of money there. I just, it seemed like maybe he was kind of past it, but maybe not. I mean, I don't know. But like I say, yeah, I don't know what Connor has left, and I have no interest in watching Michael Chandler fight.
Yeah, for sure. And nothing's excited me about the UFC like it has before. Like, Manny Nunez, she left. Like there's no start. Like unless there's a John Jones, Israel Adesanya fight, or and Pereira moving up, so we're not gonna get the like trilogy of Izzy and Pereira. Like there's nothing really exciting for UFC right now. Yeah. Pereira's first fight at his new weight was interesting. It was. He looks, dude. I don't know how he was making middleweight. His big ass.
I feel like he wasn't. Because I mean, if you go back and you watch those Adesanya fights, he looks massive in those fights.
Yeah. But then when he signs up against the actual lightweight or light heavyweight, they look the same size.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
it's a big
God.
Dude.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, the only thing that's exciting that might be coming up is John Jones versus Stipe. And that's probably going to be a wash.
Like I said, I'm not real excited for that either. At this point, not saying again that I wouldn't watch it, but I'm not excited about it because at this point, my assumption is John Jones beats him easily. Yeah. The only fight that I'm kind of excited for would be the Aljamain Sterling and Sean O'Malley fight. I think it'll be entertaining. I think, but. There's this is what we were talking about with them not doing a good job of promoting their own fighters, because there's a ton of talent in the UFC, a ton of talent, but they don't promote them to the point where you're like, oh, I can't wait for so and so to fight again.
Yeah,
wait to see the so and so fight this other guy. They don't do a good job with that at all. And so even if you have really talented guys fighting, combat sports depend a lot on the story leading up to it. You have to be excited. And that has to build up for a while to get that kind of event. That's why UFC always, and UFC fans always talk about, oh, they make all the fights. Yeah, you make all the fights, but you make them too fast, right? Boxing knows, and they've learned this over a very long period of time, that you have to you plant the seed in fans' minds, and then you make them wait. You make them wait. And then it's a much bigger event when it finally happens. In the UFC, the second a fan says, I want to see X fight Y, it happens. And then it's like, well, now what?
Yeah, I do agree with you, and I agreed with Jose when you said they should have spread these cards out instead of just having them back. Because it was like, I remember we were talking about it was like 5 fights back to back to back. They were big cards, and now we're in August, and it's like, well, what do we have?
Yeah,
nothing.
Right.
So it's kind of like,
you got to let your stars, let build up your stars by letting them beat up on lesser fighters. Let them put on shows, and UFC doesn't really do that.
So, but I think that is a great point to stop at. We covered a lot. I know with the show, I am gonna, up until probably start of the season, I might be doing 2 of these a month, probably until September. Well, we're already in. Never mind, we're already in August. As I say, when season starts, season's damn right around the corner. So
yeah.
But I will keep you posted. I will be doing these on Tuesdays, and I will be doing a. Usually the watch along for the Steelers on Sunday. Also be trying to do a Sunday morning show if I can get some people to come in who want to talk. We'll see what happens. The fans demand more. I am sad. Bertavidi
Better be
fight
us.
got canceled. Is that the one I was supposed to fight Michael Thompson? Or not Michael Thompson, Wonder Boy?
No. Better Biev is he's a boxer. He's a light heavyweight
Oh, okay, okay.
champion. He was fighting Callum Smith, and that card got postponed.
Yeah, I didn't. When I looked at the card for UFC, the Paulo Costa fight got canceled. The Wonder Boy fight got canceled at the last minute because the guy didn't make weight. He was way over. So it was like, I didn't think the card, but the card ended up being entertaining. So I was pretty happy with that, but it wasn't that great. But going back to what I was saying, so the schedule is probably going to be Tuesday, Steel Conspiracy, Sundays morning before games, doing a show, and then Sunday watch along the Steeler game or whenever the Steelers play is what I'll be doing. That'll kind of be the schedule. I know Friday we have a preseason game on the 11th. So I will be trying to watch the preseason games. I don't know if I'm going to do live reaction or not, but if I do, it'll probably only be half, really not too much of the whole game because I'm not going to sit here for 4 hours watching the whole game. But that'll kind of be a schedule, and I'll post that on my Twitter and all that stuff. As you can see on the right side, it's been flashing the whole time. You can follow me at all these right here, Suge Knight 323 on YouTube, Suge Knight 1323 on Twitch, Suge Knight 323 on TikTok and Twitter and Facebook. And YouTube. Make sure to follow those. Hit the like, subscribe. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you want to see more of, what you want to see less of. Appreciate everybody for hanging out tonight. Bronny, we'll let the people know where they can find you and also what you have coming up this week.
Yeah, so you can find me on Lunch Break Hot Take every Wednesday at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time. We do the LBHT show, followed up by the Overtime show, which is a show for patrons where we kind of talk about anything and everything going on, current event kind of thing. You can also find me on Ring Kings podcast. We stream after major boxing events, and we do also regular videos as well. We have a series where we kind of highlight up and coming fighters. We have a series where we kind of answer questions that newer fans might have about the sport. And we're also going to be recording an update to our pound for pound list here soon. So definitely head over there and hit subscribe and get ready for that. It's always a lot of fun. You can find me also on Monday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern Time over on Sip to Tally Films with Coach Evans for the Ravens Roundup. Also, Chris Just Joking from Deep Cover Pod, OTR Mike from Open Mike. Again, my brother Jose from Lunch Break Hot Take, and our guy Hendo from the Rogue Pod. And this week, August 4th. I mean, don't even have to say the date anymore. It's just this Friday now. It's just crazy. We are going to be having a meet and greet for the Ravens Roundup at Busboys and Poets in Columbia, Maryland. It's going to be a great time. We're going to have food and drinks, music. We're going to be giving away some prizes. You're going to get a swag bag, as they like to call it, just for being there. So it's going to be 7 to 9:30. Tickets are still on sale right now through eventbrite.com. And even after the event, it's right there in the Meriwether district. There's always a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of places to go. There's bars, restaurants, anything you want to really do around that area. But it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you are in the area, go to eventbrite.com, search for the Roundup meet and greet, and get your tickets.
For sure. And hopefully, Bronny will be doing that.
Ridiculous.
On drink. So if he does that, I don't know what's else with Bronny.
Ridiculous.
And make sure everybody that is going to the meet and greet to say what's up to Bronny for me. And unfortunately, I won't be able to make it, but make sure to say hi. Do not touch him though, because he doesn't want to be touched.
Exactly.
But make sure to say hi to everybody. Make sure to support and make sure to have a good time. Be safe. Appreciate you all. Shout out to Big Reg. How you doing, man? Hope you're having a great night. Appreciate you being here.
And last thing, if you are interested in going to the meet and greet, but maybe you're thinking, can't really afford it, to buy the tickets right now, we are going to be giving away a pair of tickets, I believe tomorrow night on the LBHT show. So tune in. We got to figure out how we're giving those away. But our guy C Iron Addict, shout out to him. He purchased a couple of tickets specifically to give away. So we'll make sure those find a home.
There you go. So if you want to get free tickets because you don't want to spend your own hard-earned money, join LBHT tomorrow. Try to win them. Hopefully, I win them and then I'll sell them. So that way, I can make.
All right.
money.
So I'm gonna take you off of the wheel.
You didn't say I couldn't sell them.
I just did, I believe.
And appreciate everybody once again for being here. Hope you guys have a good night. Thank you very much. And I will talk to you.
Image, your beats are so fire.
I feel we can beat the Browns. We can compete with Baltimore if they have Lamar. And we're right there with the
That young man put his life on the line for you, for your entertainment.
We were talking all before the game. Everyone was like, "Nah, Ravens don't have a shot," and they're right there.